today. Like Director Allen said, this is a generational project. This is not something that you're going to see in the next 5 or 10 years. It is something that is going to last for lifetimes. And as Sadie talked about, our mega region, the success of our mega region honestly depends on us being able to move people around efficiently, not just have them sit on congested roads and highways. And as a transportation planner of 25 years, I can tell you it's very hard to drive your way out of this problem. We really do need a multimodal transportation system, meaning people have choices in different ways of getting around. And for those of you who were here during the Loma Prieta earthquake, I remember that. I was in college, and the Bay Bridge collapsed, and the Central Freeway collapsed. What would have happened if we didn't have BART and ferries and other ways of getting around? I'm originally from Los Angeles, and I remember the Northridge earthquake and how that affected people. And it was a very different situation for them because they did not have all the options that we do. So we are lucky. We are lucky that we have different transportation options. But anyways, I'm going to talk a little bit about the concepts. So this is slide 8 down here. We're in the planning phase of this program. And so we're developing concepts for not only where is this crossing going to be located exactly, but what vehicle technology are we going to have in it. So I don't want to get into the details, but for those of you that know a little bit about trains, BART runs on a different type of track than Amtrak and Caltrain, Capital Corridor, ACE, Future High Speed Rail. So you will never see a different type of train running on BART tracks because BART has unique track gauge. Okay, so one of the things that we have to figure out is in that crossing, is that a BART track gauge, or is it what we call standard gauge, or is it a combination of both? But it's more than that. It's what are the markets are we serving? Because again, this is a mega regional network that we are trying to improve, and we're not doing it by ourselves. There are other train operators out there, so we need to work in concert with them and make sure that we're all consistent with the state rail plan. I was talking to Jim earlier about the state rail plan. The state has a vision for how both freight and passenger rail can be improved and work better. And so we have to be consistent with that too. But another thing is service. Sadie talked about different ways that service could be better. We have realized, all transit operators have learned that you can't just rely on people going to work from 9 to 5. We've seen how the change in remote work has really devastated any transit operator that is solely relying on people going to the office between 9 and 5, Monday through Friday. But if you travel around the world and you go to places where transit serves people for all kinds of trips at all hours of the day. I was in Barcelona last summer. Full. People are using the trains and the buses. People are moving around because those systems function well for all types of trips, different times of day, different days of the week. You're not just relying on it to go to work. And so we need a system that is going to support people in all kinds of activities that they do. And in our outreach that we did last fall, we have more outreach coming up in June. We conducted webinars, we had polls, we had questions on our website, and we were asking people, like, if we had a better functioning rail network here, how would you use the rail network? And it wasn't, number one, I would use it to go to work. It was, number one, I really want to be able to get to airports easier. I mean, you guys, if you travel, you're looking on flights, right? Do you only want to go to Oakland? No. Sometimes the better flight's at SFO. Sometimes the better flight is in San Jose or in Sacramento, right? So wouldn't it be great if we had a network where you could get between those airports easily on the train, so you don't have to leave your car somewhere and pay, however, $30 a day for parking or whatever that is, right? I mean, it's nice to have the options. And for people who work at airports, it's nice for them to have the option to be able to get to work and not worry like, well, I have a shift that starts at 3 a.m., but I can't get there on the train. So there's a lot that we can do to make service better and service work for people. This blue diagram here just refers to some analysis we did, was it last year, 2 years ago? I can't remember now, but it was our initial study of what is the potential in the mega region. Who would use a new crossing? Would there be demand for a new crossing from these different locations? And the answer is yes. We found that 45% of all unmet medium to long distance rail trips would use a new crossing. I can say that from the Capital Corridor, we have a lot of folks that want to travel between Sacramento and the Bay Area, and not just to Oakland. They want to get to San Francisco. Right now, you have to transfer at Richmond, at the Richmond BART Capital Corridor station to get to San Francisco if you're on the train, or you go to Emeryville and you take a bus from Emeryville into San Francisco. And these connections work fine, but not everyone has the luxury to spend 2 hours and 20 minutes to get from Sacramento into San Francisco. That map that Sadie showed earlier with the 4 different regions in the US, wouldn't it be more practical if you could do that trip, Sacramento to San Francisco, in an hour and a half or an hour and 45 minutes? If you knew that you didn't have to sit in your car and you weren't sure if there was going to be traffic. I've done that drive. I've done it in 3 hours, 3.5 hours from here to Sacramento before. Wouldn't it be nice if that was a reliable trip that you knew was going to take a certain amount of time and it was always going to take that certain amount of time? So, this next diagram here, slide 10, this kind of gets back to the service issue. So today we have BART, which functions not only as a urban metro system that runs pretty frequently, usually 15 to 20 minutes per train, between trains. You got your stations anywhere between a mile or 5 miles apart. Out here it tends to be more like 5 miles apart. But then you've got what we call regional rail, right? The Capital Corridor, Caltrain, ACE, the San Joaquins. What I want to impress upon you is that when we talk about regional rail in the Link21 context, we're talking about modern regional rail. So in less than a few years, if you go on the peninsula and you see the new vehicles that Caltrain is running, that's a program that I helped work on. We had to have the Federal Railroad Administration change their requirements so that Caltrain could run that equipment. And why did we do that? Because that is the kind of equipment that's being used in other parts of the world, and it can function more like a metro system in addition to running long distance service. So you get the best of both worlds. The equipment we're running now, it's good for medium and long distance, but if you're on the train and you see how long it takes to actually stop and then how long it takes to actually start up again, you can't do the quick start, acceleration and deceleration that BART can, and therefore you can't really start and stop and go to all these different stations in an efficient way. But the modern regional rail equipment that's coming, zero emission, better performing, can do more than just run medium to long distance. It's really exciting. I mean, I'm a train fan, so excuse me, but it's really exciting. And when you experience it for yourself, you'll know what I mean. So anyway, that's what we talk about when we're talking about vehicle technology in the Link21 context. Okay, so this map here that shows the 2 examples, this is what we've been showing to the public as what might happen in the crossing itself. Now, there are going to be other improvements in this program. You can't just build a crossing and then call it a day, because what is the crossing connecting to? If you're connecting to parts of the system that are bottlenecks, well, you haven't solved the problem. You just moved the problem to a different location. So these are just examples of things that we've shown to the public. I won't go into them in detail, but we're going to continue to study these, and like I said, in June, we're going to be sharing even more. But it's really just to help folks understand the difference between what a regional rail and what a BART crossing can provide. The 4-part business case. So this is a practice that's being used in other parts of the world, the business case, and it's really making sure that what we're doing is justified based on these different things. It's an important exercise that we should be doing for all our infrastructure and major investment projects. Okay, finally, before I hand it over to Sadie again, slide 13 just illustrates our project identification process and public input. And really, all that we're trying to say here is that we're considering a universe of options, not to say like we want a kitchen sink of projects in there, but to say we as professionals and people working with cities and stakeholders, we're developing these concepts, we refine them, we learn from them, we run through a model, we do analyses, and then we refine them again. And it's this iterative process. And it's, ongoing for the next several years. So it's just to say that no decisions have been made, but we are constantly learning and refining what we're doing. And with input from folks like you and others, we're going to get to a better solution. So thank you.